Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Schroeder, and here we are with Dallas Social Distancing Toastmasters again on June 25th of 2020. Just a couple of quick notes. I think pretty much everybody here is pretty familiar with Zoom, so I'm not going to go through too much of that. I do want to point out our agenda because we do have a little bit of a change this evening. If you were to go to, oh, I love it the way it goes right in front of everything. Oh, there we go. Now I can move it down a little bit. If you were to go to our website, DallasSocialToastmasters.com, you're going to find a couple of new links that you haven't seen before. One of them is right over here under the members section. The very first item is current agenda. We put it right there so that you can get to it. Or if you happen to be someone who normally sits on the members page with all of the members information, you'll also notice there's a new section over here right on the left in the little box entitled the meeting agenda, current agenda link, and it will bring up exactly the same thing. It is still available under the flyers, announcements, etc., but it is now listed as, if you happen to go here, the current agenda. I'm no longer putting it out as the date. It makes it easier for me to pull it from the other links. So although you can still get to it from the public files page, it's a little bit obscure and harder to do. I recommend getting it either from the members only page or right here on our homepage, one of the two. Feel free to bring that up. I will leave one of those copies up for me. So I'm going to do that right now. And that way you can look at it during the meeting. I'll go ahead and stop the share. Our Toastmaster, our invocation and pledge, and it turns out also Toastmaster for this evening, is Mark Sims. Please welcome Mark Sims.
Thank you, and welcome. And since we don't have an American flag to pledge to, we'll just move past that. I know we're all sufficiently patriotic. And tonight's meeting is going to be about club goals and our future. This is the, and thank you, Dagan. It's very helpful. And this is the final meeting in the current term. The next meeting that we have, which I guess would be on July the 7th or whatever, the next Thursday, it will be the first meeting in the new term with the new slate of officers, including me as president. And what we will do in the near future is we will at some point get sworn in as officers. We'll start having officers meetings, and we will press on in an environment totally unpredictable, something totally unforeseen just a few months ago. Now, more to come on this, but the very first thing I want to make a pitch for is for TLI, which is on Saturday, there's the next session that is available. And I saw some emails from Rob. Thank you for that. I've registered for Saturday morning for the president's training. So keep in mind, for starters, you can participate even if you're not an officer. But definitely we want all the officers to get trained. And it doesn't have to be this weekend, but the sooner you can get it accomplished, the better. And it's nice, it's fun. You get to hear have some camaraderie with other Toastmasters, even if it is on Zoom. You get to find out more about your role. Inevitably, there would be something that you weren't familiar with. And it's a good way to kick off the new term. So all you have to do is get on or Google the District 50 Toastmasters website, and there's a TLI homepage, and it's really simple to register so that they will be anticipating you and you'll be able to join on Saturday. So please do that. I usually kind of veg out on Saturday mornings, but this morning I'll be alert and attentive and in front of the computer. What we're going to do now is introduce our duty holders. Our first duty holder is Marcia Collins. So Marcia, please tell us about your role.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. As timer, I will be helping the speakers practice expressing a thought within a specific time. My duty is to time prepared speeches, table topic speeches, and speech evaluations during this meeting. The green card indicates qualifying time. The yellow card is the target time, and the red card is the maximum time, and you have 30 seconds to finish up. For a 5 to 7 minute prepared speech, I will show the green card at 5 minutes, the yellow card at 6 minutes, and the red card at 7 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. For table topics, each speaker is encouraged to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. I will show the green card at 1 minute, the yellow card at 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the red card at 2 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. For the evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes, okay? And so the green card is shown at 2 minutes. The yellow card is shown at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the red card at 3 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. If you speak under time or over time by more than 30 seconds, you will be disqualified and will not be eligible for awards. However, for table topics, you must reach at least 1 minute. I will report qualifying times when called upon throughout the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster or Toastmasters. Thank you.
Our next duty holder is Dagon Newland, who has 2 roles, that of posture bell duty holder and vote counter. So Dagon, please discuss your roles. You're muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
First I was speaking, a thing popped up and said I was on mute. So anyway, posture bell, I'll be looking for, bad posture, and also in this setting, it's gonna be a little bit more rough to do, but there's still opportunities of bad posture. People be playing with their glasses or fiddling with their face while they're speaking. So I'll be watching out at least for those type of things. And at the end of the meeting, I'll give my report when called upon by the general evaluator. Now, as vote counter, in this case, since we only have 1 speaker and 1 evaluator, we'll only be voting on the best table topics and best of the big 3, which will be the Toastmaster, table topics master, and general evaluator. Of course, when called upon, you'll cast your vote in a private message to me. And if there's a tie, I will not make a vote, but there is a tie. I will have to be the tiebreaker, but you will not know that. And at the end of the meeting, I will inform everybody of who won the sections. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Our next duty holder is Karen Lee, who is Ah counter and grammarian. Karen, please tell us about your role.
Okay, I think I got my role mixed up. As I counter, I'm going to listen for pregnant pauses, long pauses while speaking, crutch words like and I'll keep notes on what I hear, and then I'll give a report when called upon by the general evaluator. And I'm also grammarian, so I have to listen to interesting usages of the English language, and also there's another a word of the day, and I'll make that partial. That's the one duty that I didn't realize that I had, partial. So let's make that the word of the day, and we'll see if we can use that during our table topics and prepared speech. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Karen. And the club in the next term is going to have several things to work through. One key decision that we obviously cannot resolve tonight is at what point in time we would ever meet in person again. And right now that seems more distant than ever, since from what I read in here, we seem to be going in reverse in dealing with the coronavirus. So that's definitely something we want to do, but it looks like that's not an immediate decision to be made given the circumstances. As always, membership growth will be a key issue. We were just starting to click along pretty nicely when the pandemic really hit and we started going to the Zoom meetings, but we've had some great success this year in that Denise and Nicholas not only joining the club earlier in the year, but then staying very well connected and participating very well. And then also it's been great here in the last few weeks just on the Zoom presence to get Marcia and then for Karen Lee to return. So those are very positive steps. We want to continue that, of course. So as always, please be on the lookout, especially now that on the Zoom meetings that someone doesn't have to worry about a long drive to get to the meetings. Anyone at work, anyone you know who may have an interest, as always, please encourage them and try and connect them with us. At this point, we will head into the prepared speeches part of the evening. Our one speaker is Lee King. His speech is entitled Family, and his evaluator is Mark Schroeder. So Mark, please tell us about Lee's speech.
Thank you, Mark. I'll be happy to. You will pardon me, I am going to have to read it because I just printed it off myself. Lee's going to be doing one called Cross-Cultural Understanding tonight. And he has some interesting goals for this particular speech. Certainly the member must deliver a well-organized speech. The member will share some aspect of his or her cultural identity and the stereotypes that impact others' perception of him or her. The speech must be, or may be humorous, informative, or any style that the member prefers to choose to give the speech. And it should not be a report on the content of cross-cultural understanding project. So he's not really supposed to describe the project. He's supposed to be describing something from his own life and his own culture. His title, by the way, since I don't know if you got it, Mark Sims, to introduce him, his title is Family.
Awesome. So please help me welcome Lee King speaking on Family. Family by Lee King.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. We don't have any guests this evening, so good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Tonight, I am doing a project on culture, and it was rather difficult for me to really think about a speech. After all, I had a hard time really thinking about how to address culture. Of course, I address cultures every day just through my work. And there is no partial way in being able to address culture when your job is working with people. But I thought this evening I would share something a little bit different about culture, only because I feel that I'm unique in one way in that I am married into a different culture. So I have learned a lot over the past couple of years. As you all may remember, I've got married 2 years ago, and my wife is Vietnamese, which means that there are a lot of cultural differences. Although there are a lot of similarities, there are differences as well. I thought I'd just point out a couple of them. One big difference is the wedding. A wedding in which those of us that are from Texas might not consider to be a major all-day affair. For the Asian culture, I've learned that it really is a large full-day affair. This took some getting used to when I first got married, because for me, growing up, a nice wedding could simply be something at a church, and maybe the reception would be something at the church, like sandwiches or hors d'oeuvres, or maybe even just a step down, just a barbecue in the backyard. But in the Asian culture, things are a little different, and weddings are expected to last all day. In fact, it's not uncommon for the Asians to start their weddings at 5 a.m. with meeting the in-laws to not really wrapping up the full dance and and anything else with the reception until after midnight. So that was a major compromise that my wife and I had to face, was exactly how big is this wedding going to be? How big is the reception? And I feel that we had quite a compromise, actually. We did not surpass the traditional size of Asian women weddings. Actually, we had a very small Asian wedding of 100 people. For me, that was rather huge. But that was the first big compromise in our relationship. The next thing that I learned about the difference between some of us that are from America and some people from other cultures is the amount of time that we spend at work versus the amount of time we spend on vacation and the expectations of that. For me, I'm used to working. I am used to dealing with problems on a day-to-day basis, and those become my big issues. And while I enjoy vacation, it's not a major focus of my life. If, for example, my wife is sick, I'm more concerned about getting her better, not quite so much on vacation. But what have I learned in 2 years? Well, I've learned that other cultures really value vacation quite significantly, and a small trip to, for example, somewhere in Texas to Austin is not really a vacation. A vacation is something that's large and a lot of money is spent. I can remember when my wife was in the hospital, the one thing that my in-laws were most concerned about actually was their vacation and could they go on vacation and when could we go on vacation. And it took some getting used to, actually. I made the wrong comment at one point, just saying that I wasn't really worried about vacation. And needless to say, that was the wrong thing to say. But my feelings were just different. But I have found that in other cultures, time off and time away from life in general is very important, probably more important than what we as Americans put on that. So that was a learning experience and something that definitely is worth thinking about. The third lesson that I have learned in 2 years is the sense of community. Even though here in America, those of us that are American, we, of course, care about other people. We want to help other people and certainly support family. A little bit different in other cultures. And where we may view something as our individual problem, it is a community effort in other cultures. I'll give you an example. So one example is the way I viewed my wife's medical expenses after being in the hospital for several months was this was my wife and I's problem. And that was something that we would have to figure out how to pay. What I did not expect was for my wife's family to go and pay all the medical bills for us and then expect to be paid back later. That's a little bit of a problem because that is a significant amount of money that I personally don't have to pay back. But at this point, they are needing the money and they're expecting the money. And that has been a major strain on the marriage. An unexpected one, something that I did not expect going into it. Another thing that I have learned throughout the time that I've been married is, again, that sense of community. When we got married, we got a lot of money, a little over $2,000 to be exact, and they were in red envelopes. I kind of joke about it now, and I would say that the funny thing about it is that we have red envelope money debt, because people that put money in the red envelopes expect to get paid back. So in short, culture is something that we all live with, we all have, and whenever looking at relationships, it can make a big difference in your relationship. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lee. That is a very good warning. In the very unlikely event in the next few years I get married to a woman from Asian culture, I'll be very watchful for the red envelopes. And I'll not let them pay my medical bills either. I don't want people to pile a bunch of debt on me. So, you're a brave man. And before we head into the table topics section, just final note on club goals is that we do want to support the club, but we want the club to support the individuals, because we all came in the club as individuals with specific needs. Mine was to get better at giving presentations, and when I first started at Toastmasters, I needed to get better in a hurry. And so I had opportunities to work on that to my benefit. Each of you had some specific thing that sent you to the club you visited in the first place. So we don't want to lose sight of that way. So let us know what we can do for you. If you're needing to make X amount of speeches in order to accomplish your next goal in your path, we almost always have opportunities to do that. I mean, very rarely will we have too many speakers. If you need a certain role or a certain project, we ought to be able to help you. And that's something I believe I'm going to bring up when we have guests. Yeah, we want to know where you're from, what brought you here, had to find out about us. What can we do for you? And I think that's a good thing for all of us to keep in mind, is to what we can do for the club, what the club can do for the individual. At this point, we will turn it over to Rob Giles for our table topics section.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. So we're going into table topics, which is an important part of Toastmasters, an important part of our meetings. And table topics, it's there for us to learn how to speak off the cuff, to speak in an impromptu fashion, extemporaneously, and to think on your feet. Now, these are things that can help us in interviews, can help us with social engagements, even with arguments. And perhaps Toastmasters has benefited some of us in those regards. Also, if you happen to be, I hope not, but if you're in an interrogation, then perhaps Toastmasters and table topics can come in handy in that regard too. And finally, obviously, table topics comes in handy for our Toastmasters in general. So overall, table topics is something that can help us. Now, what do we need to do in order to win at each meeting for Toastmasters in table topics? We need to speak for at least 1 minute. We need to speak no more than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We need to use the word of the day. You can be partial to that. And if you do all those things, you need to get the most votes in order to win. So our theme tonight is club goals. And as Mark indicated, club goals kind of going hand in hand with individual goals. It's something where it's a give and take. And as far as our individual goals, well, we have our Toastmaster goals. We have goals that we do personally. Some things that, you know, we want to reach, but maybe we don't have the time. Maybe we just aren't real thrilled with it, but we want to get that skill. What I would like to do is ask Marcia, and Marcia, I will take over the timing duty for you here. If you could wave a magic wand to master one skill, what would it be and why? If you could wave a magic wand to master one skill, what would it be and why?
Okay, wow. Okay. If I could wave a wand, what one skill I'd like to master? Considering the fact that I sought out Toastmasters and centering around the job in which I do, which is training. I do a lot of training for the district. The one skill that I'd like to master is my ability to capture my audience. I do a lot of coaching with teachers, and in this day and age, teachers don't want a lot of sitting and getting, sort of. They want something that's engaging. So I want to be able to, through the information in which I have to provide for them or teach them, show them, give them, I'd like to be engaging, entertaining with my presentations and my ability to do so. I am partial to learning new things. I know that there are some things that there's habits that I need to break, like saying So this is a tough one. I think that as I still learn the essence of Toastmasters and all that it has to offer, perhaps my goals would be changing, or not changing, however, adding to it, increasing, just all for my betterment. Yeah, this was tough. I'm still out to lunch on that one. That was tough. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcia. As I said, you know, individual goals are tough, or not tough, but it's something that we need to do. And sometimes they're tough because we don't necessarily have the time or are really thrilled with the process to get to those goals. But when we do find something that we like, that can really energize us and get us moving in the right direction. It can get us to accomplish something that perhaps we really, really, really love or end up loving. I would like to ask Karen, tell us about one of your favorite accomplishments.
What is one of my favorite accomplishments? Okay. At first I was too nervous to be partial about it, but one time I did complete the High Performance Leadership Project. I don't know if that is still on the program, but I did complete I chaired an area contest. So that took a long time to put together in many weeks. And the most difficult part was getting the flyer put together, because I had never typed a flyer or made a flyer like that. So it was the flyer was very challenging. And then getting all the people together to work together, I just realized that I wasn't going to be able to keep control over the situation. So it's actually all something that had to be delegated to other people to be responsible for. So as long as I could delegate it to others and just kind of fall back and watch everything happen, I had to loose the reins there. So the most challenging project I ever had was the cherry and area contest. Mr. Table Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Karen. Sometimes the most challenging things can end up being some of our favorite things that we've done, just because we've accomplished so much. We've overcome things that perhaps we thought we couldn't. So I can definitely understand that. Sometimes we don't think that we can do things, and therefore we don't try them. I would like to ask, tell us about an outdoor activity that you would like to try, but you've never done before.
You call me?
Yes, Mark Sims. Tell us about an outdoor activity you would like to try that you've never tried before.
That is difficult because I'm only a partial outdoor person. I'll go walking in the summertime, of course, go walking in the morning rather than when it's hot. And now that I'm old enough that I rarely ever have an occasion anymore to play baseball or softball, there are very little outdoor things that I have wanted to do but haven't got around to. If anything, I do too many outdoor things because I hate working in the yard, but at times, of course, we need to. So I really do not have a good answer. As far as going beyond simply outdoor things, one, I'll just punt and go to an indoor goal I would like to do, and that is speak maybe to bigger crowds. A few months ago, I was asked to give a brief, just a couple of minutes of remarks in front of our church. And my legs were shaking while I was up there. Fortunately, that was hidden by the preacher's pulpit. And only because of the Toastmasters opportunities and the grace of God, I was able to convey my remarks, to more or less enjoy the experience, even though it was in two different services and the crowds in each were about 500 or 600 people. So a challenge along those lines, even though it's not an indoor event, I would have an interest in doing in the proper forum. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Mark. Definitely understand. Well, here's something to think about, is perhaps you speak to larger crowds outside. Perhaps you have some sort of event going on outside, outdoor activity.
Maybe an old-fashioned tent revival.
There you go.
Let's get going on that.
You can be the new apostle. So, things that we haven't done before, because new challenges. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm having trouble. I don't know if everybody else is. It was breaking up. Try again.
You were breaking up a little.
Okay, try again.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me know if you can't. So, taking on new challenges is important. I think that's personally my view, because it helps us to grow. It helps us to find things that we end up loving, or that we never knew before that we would possibly love. but sometimes we don't do those things great. What I would like to do is ask Indu. Indu, can you tell us about something that you really enjoy doing, but that you could possibly improve upon?
Thank you, Rob. Something that I enjoy doing, but I can improve upon, will definitely be my current profession. I really like my profession. I'm a software developer. I enjoy, designing software. Currently, I'm a front-end developer, which involves, designing UI, user interface. So this is something that I really enjoyed, especially from school days, because all the projects that I used to get were very cool. You get to design what people would be using. You get to design where the buttons go, what colors they would be. And I'm someone who is quite artsy. I like arts and crafts. So this seemed like a really fun thing. But now that I'm working, and every day I realize that the technology is evolving. So one thing that I would like to continue, or would definitely like to improve upon, is my ability or my focus in keeping track or keeping in track with the current technology. So that's something I feel I lack a bit right now. Of course, I have a lot of other things that I'm focusing on, but this is something that I would like to get in track of. I don't want to be, partial to it. I want to give my full attention to it and make a better version of myself in the field.
Thank you very much, Indu. I think that we all have those things that we love to engage in, and some of them we do need to work a little bit extra at in order to polish our skills. That's what we're doing here at Toastmasters. At least some of us. Some of us are growing into it for the first time, but some of us have things that we've accomplished, but we're not quite where we want to be, or we just need to keep working on it just to keep our level up at the. What I would like to know, though, is if you do it a lot, you might be considered a Toastmaster binger. I would like to ask Dagan. Binge watching was one of your New Year's resolutions.
Sorry, you broke up.
Yeah, bad. Start over.
Just from the question.
If binge watching, Dagan, was one of your New Year's resolutions, what shows have helped you to reach your goal, and would you recommend them?
Well, I'm kind of partial to sci-fi type shows, whether that be like Star Trek, Star Wars, or any kind of show that has superhuman abilities. There's one quite a while back. Can't remember the name of it. It's really popular. But anyway, everybody has these different abilities, and you have some people that have abilities. Just one particular abilities. Then you have this other guy that can, like, if he just touched you and touched another person had ability, he would gain their ability, and he'd have multiple abilities at one time. And he had the bad guy had the same thing, but he would actually have to kill the person to gain his ability. So he had to back and forth fight there. And so pretty much any show that's similar and like that is what I would want to binge watch on, because those shows are just always found them really enjoyable and enlightening, and it brings me back to my childhood. Because when I was a child, I always had this dream that I could fly, like Superman. So You know, I had that all the time, pretty much almost every night. It seemed like back when I was a kid. So it's probably one of the reasons why I kind of like that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, those are the ones I would want to binge watch. And if you're interested in any kind of stuff like that, that's a definite must you gotta do. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Dagan. I think the show that you were talking about, maybe you mentioned the title, but I think that was called Heroes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Now, I myself actually just binge watched a Star Trek series myself just recently called Picard that's on CBS All Access. And I enjoyed that a lot as well. Binge watching, definitely, if it was one of my New Year's resolutions, I would have completed it this past week. So working on our individual goals is great, especially here in Toastmasters, because it does, as Mark said, it benefits our club in many different ways. And as I mentioned, it's reciprocal, and he mentioned that as well. So keep that in mind, keep working toward your goals. And at this point, I'd like to ask Madam Timer, did all of our contestants qualify on time?
Okay, can I?
You qualified.
Can I take a commercial break? I apologize. I have sent those individuals individually a message. How I kind of messed up their time. Thank you, Dagan. I appreciate that, coaching me along and correcting me. I totally received that. But yes, everyone met their time. I do apologize, Karen. I totally missed Karen, but she seemed to do it right. She knew exactly when to stop.
All right, so
apologies, everyone. I hope I can be able to redeem myself, please.
Absolutely. That's one of those goals that you can try again and improve upon.
Timer, being a timer, absolutely. Thank you.
It'll come soon. And the next thing that we want to check on is our word of the day, and that goes to our grammarian, and that is Karen. Karen, did all of our contestants use the word of the day?
Yes, all of our contestants did use the word of the day.
Excellent, excellent. I'm partial to that, so I appreciate that. And it's good that it was just not just partial, amount of contestants that did it. So that's great. So all of our contestants qualified. So please go ahead and send a private chat to our vote counter, Mr. Dagan Newland. And the contestants are as follows. Marcia, who talked about the skill that she would like to possibly wave a magic wand so that she could obtain that skill. Karen, who talked about one of her favorite accomplishments, which I believe was the high performance leadership project for Toastmasters. We had Mark Sims, who told us about an indoor activity that he would like to try that he hasn't tried, and actually, the outdoor may be the one that he actually needs to try, but in larger groups. Also, Indu, who talked about something that she could improve upon. And then finally, Dagan, who talked about shows that he binge watches to achieve those New Year's resolutions. So please go ahead and vote for the contestants again. Again, it's Marcia, Karen, Mark Sims, Indu, or Dagan. And again, send that. If you do have any comments for any of those speakers, as far as the content or how they presented their table topics, and also our prepared speaker, send a comment in the private chat to them as well. At this point, I'm going to send our meeting over to our general evaluator to begin the third portion of our meeting. Please help me to welcome Mr. John Vessels.
Good evening, everybody. I'm your evaluator tonight. The role of the evaluator, the general evaluator, is to evaluate the meeting as a whole and the performance of all of the staff, all of the people in our meeting. And I want to start by saying that I thought everybody did a really good job tonight so far. We still have some things to do, but just get a little evaluation here in the beginning. Mark, I did like your speech on club goals. I almost felt like, wait a minute, are we doing the business need first? And there's a coup and you're taking over a week early? No. But no, I thought, oh, okay, it's club goals. I read the theme now finally, so it sank in. It's like, now this all makes sense. But good topic, good job. What about your hiking the Appalachian Trail? That's an outdoor thing you did. No? Okay, fine. Maybe you just drove it. Anyway, so let's go on first to our evaluator of the king, and that's going to be Mark Schroeder. So Mark, will you present your evaluation for the please, sir?
Thank you so much. Fellow Toastmasters, I would say guests, but we don't have any tonight, but especially for our speaker tonight, Lee. Your speech, of course, was entitled Family and was on culture. And having gone to the wedding that you are referring to, I have to admit that it's the first time I have ever been to a Catholic ceremony, which I believe was presented in, was it Vietnamese? Is that correct? That was quite different and interesting,
It
including
was
all
in
the music.
English, but the music was in Vietnamese.
The music was, yes, the music was all in Vietnamese. I've never been to a service like that. It was quite different and interesting. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to actually do something called the saw, heard, and felt method, which if we were at Ozona's, considering I haven't done that in probably 5 years, everybody would be falling out of their chairs probably, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start off with what I saw tonight. And I think first off, it's Zoom. I saw a lot of smiles, and because faces were really prominent on the screen, it's something that you don't actually get to see a lot of in terms of the emotion in the face. You had a very, very expressive face tonight, and I thought that was very good for the medium and something that we don't normally get to the level that we got it tonight, thanks to Zoom. I also thought, and I don't know quite why, but I felt that you had better eye contact toward the ending of the speech. At some point in the speech, your eye contact actually appeared to change and become better. And I don't know whether that's a comfort level or whether it was because of the enthusiasm for what you were speaking about. You may want to watch the recording again just to see exactly when it's changed to see if you can figure it out. But I did notice it seemed to improve. One thing that I noticed somewhat lacking was because of the fact that we are on Zoom and you were that close, didn't have any real gestures with hands or anything above approximately neck level. With regard to things that I heard some very good organization of the speech. You went through lots of lessons that you had learned, and they all made sense, and they were all presented very well and very clearly. I also heard a lot of emotion in your voice, and you're going to hear that again. The thing that was interesting was you actually, even if you closed your eyes, you could hear the emotion. You could tell the surprise, you could tell the frustration in some cases, and even the enjoyment. And that was one of the ones that was most interesting because you could almost see that you were reliving some of these events. And between the saw and the heard, you could tell that you were recalling them in a very joyful and welcome, pleasant fashion. Finally, the felt part, with regard to what I felt, a lot of shared emotion tonight. And that is something that is difficult to get across in a speech. And I thought you did a very good job of that. And again, once again, that same thing with the inflection for the feeling of surprise, especially, and of, and of frustration. Those were the two emotions that I thought came across the best. So a very good job, saw, heard, felt tonight, and just doing that for a change. I thought it was an excellent speech and great examples of culture in families.
Thank you, Mark. Now I'd like to ask Ms. Marcia if Mark qualified on time.
Yes, he did.
All right, thank you. So next portion, I need to stop sewing. Okay, I'll counter, you didn't hear that. Let's do our duty holders report and see what we did tonight. And we're gonna go ahead and start with Karen Lee, who is our all-counter and grammarian. So Karen, will you present your observations for the evening?
I obviously did not record your sewing. Okay, on the odd counter. I heard Rob use two partials, used it the word of the day twice. Actually, the word of the day was pretty popular. The Mark Schroeder used it. Mark Sims used it. And Indu used it. I heard for odd counter, let's see. I heard Marcia use 3 times, and Indu used a couple of times. And that's my report for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Our other duty holder that we need to hear from is Dagan as our posture monitor. So Dagan, take it away.
All right, there's really not much to tell since all I see is the upper torso, so not much body movement going on up there. But I did notice that Mark Sims, when you were doing your table topics, you had your hand on your chin real quick, and you also had a hand clasp up here real quick. But other than that, I didn't really see anything other glaring stuff. Back to you, General Evaluator.
All right, thank you, Dagan. That's one thing you can get away with now is the hand clasp. Just keep your hands low and nobody catches that one anymore. You play with the basketball or do the fig leaf or whatever, we can't see it. So when we start meeting live again, we may all have some really bad posture habits because of this. But we'll work on it. Just something we try to remember when we're going through all this. All in all, I thought our meeting, we did an excellent job this evening. I thought it was well organized. And yes, Rob, with his PowerPoint for table topics, couldn't get away from it, could you? No, I did like it. That was fine. I just had to like groove you a little bit. But all in all, I think we did a great job. Your table topics were all on target for the theme of the meeting tonight. And very good questions. I thought it made everybody think a little bit, but it wasn't too hard. It was all things that we do confront. I'm glad I didn't get one for that 5-year goal. I actually hate that question. That is my most hated question in the world. So thank you for not using that against anybody, especially me. But all in all, I thought we did an excellent job this meeting. Good performances by everybody. Not a lot of bad or incorrect uses of the English language. Nothing offbeat. So thought we did a good job. We started on time. So I think it was 46. Well, we're not going to count seconds. I'm not got my stopwatch on. So did a good job. I think we're improving and getting much smoother about our operation every single week. And we'll be the super experts here. And then we'll have to go back to the office, or not the office, but our stage and learn all over again. Get back in a new rhythm. But all in all, great job. I do want to ask him now for a vote on the best of the big three, being the table topics master, Rob Giles, our Toastmaster, Mark Sims, or myself as general evaluator. So if you would take a moment, send your vote to Dagan Newland by private chat. And for the last time this season, Lee King, our president, will do a versus meeting. Mr. King.
All right. Well, good evening again, and we'll just jump right on into a fairly short business meeting. There's not a whole lot to discuss, but a couple of short things. So first, as we all know, the COVID cases are going up, they're not going down. But I do know that Mark Schroeder is told Ozona that we would give them an update. So just very briefly, is there anybody that feels like we should go back to Ozona in the month of July? I didn't think so. So Mark Schroeder, maybe if you could just let Ozona know that we have evaluated the situation and we will
Yeah, I will just,
reevaluate again in
I hope they
August.
continue to be understanding. I suspect they will be.
I've already been told I will go back to the office until after Labor Day. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And nobody's
So-
even talking about when we're going to go back yet. And they're saying that those buildings may never be more than 50% occupied for a very, very long time.
Yeah. So, I don't, like I said, I don't think there is a need to hold a vote, but I just wanted to throw that out there in case somebody did. The other thing that we would need to vote on, actually, we will need to vote on is, do we want to have a meeting next week? So the 4th of July is on Saturday this year. And given the case with COVID and everything, I don't know that a whole lot of people are going to be traveling very far past their homes. So I did want to at least see if we wanted to have a meeting next week or not. So anybody have any thoughts on that?
I'm good with the meeting because, like you say, it's not the greatest time to travel, and Thursday would not be on the holiday itself. It would just be close to it.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I am available.
And I'm okay with it.
I
What is-
agree.
What is
Fine
the
too.
I'm sorry, Karen?
date?
It's July the
July
2nd?
2nd. Yes, the 2nd.
Yeah, July 2nd is correct.
I wouldn't be available that day. I've got company.
Okay. But it sounds like the majority of us can, so we'll go ahead and, well, let's, do I have a motion to hold the meeting next week?
Yes.
Okay. And,
Second.
yeah, we have a second, okay. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? No, okay. All right, so we will meet next week. I did just look at the Distinguished Club plan. And of course, I've looked at it before now, but I know that we had a couple of other achievements come in. So we are 7 out of 10 points. Unfortunately, we will not be distinguished or better because we ended last year with 15 members and we have 14 members as of right now. So unless we get 6 members between now and the 1st, then we will not be distinguished or better this year. But we did have a good year. I think that we've made a lot of gains, and especially given the fact that pretty much our whole strategy of meeting and everything had changed in March. I think I guess it was the 1st or the 2nd week of March, and we were having to go to Zoom. So that really made it challenging, and I'm would be curious to know overall how international is doing. If clubs have gained a lot of members since they went to Zoom, or if things have kind of stayed the same. Also, with that said, Indu is our club coach. I would like to take a moment to thank her for all of her hard work, and I believe you'll end up staying on, I believe, correct? That's what I thought. Yeah, and they're giving y'all, the coaches, and you get an extra year to get your DTM. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So Indu will be with us for another year, so let's make sure that we are distinguished or better by this time next year so that she does get her distinguished Toastmaster. Of course, hopefully we'll be back meeting in person, and that will probably help with getting us more members. Does anybody else have anything else that they would like to share this evening?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So I saw in Rob's mail that we had to go to for the TLI, we had to go to the one for our office, and we had to go to combined officer or 2 other things. But it looked like the 2 other things were not being offered this weekend. Was that correct, or did I miss that?
I didn't see anything about 2 other things. I mean, maybe 2 other options.
2 other classes.
Yeah, but not both of them. I think just one.
Just one.
Yeah, and they've been doing this for the past couple of years where you don't necessarily have to use the combined officers. You can do one of these other ones that
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It actually was only one class. It was called Club Care and Retention. It's not Club Care, comma, and Retention. That's one of those Oxford comma problems.
Okay.
I figured they did not use the Oxford comma, but it did not. It looked like Club Care and Retention was not being offered this Saturday. Is that correct? I didn't see it on the schedule.
I didn't look for that one, so
Okay. I was looking for it and I
I'll-
just didn't happen to notice it.
I'll double check it.
Okay.
So yes, please don't forget to sign up. I do think you have to register for TLI because I guess you're getting an email with a unique code.
Yeah, they're giving out,
access code.
that's correct. They're giving out a unique URL with passwords and it's to prevent Zoom bombing.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm guessing with that, that's also how they're tracking that you'll get credit for the class, maybe? I don't know.
I believe so, but they may do something while you're in the class as well. That might be something that gets done as well. Maybe that'll be a double, just a second confirmation. But
I'll bet you it'll be something like, tell us what word they're holding up or what color dress they're
Right.
wearing or something,
yeah, they
That'd be the
probably
same-
will.
the
They
same
probably will
stuff
do that.
They do at a driver's ed or driver's defensive driving class.
Yes. Make sure that you were watching. All right. Anybody else have anything? All right. Well, with that, let's hear who won.
All right. So we also know Lee King's the best speaker, and our best evaluator is Mark Schroeder. So let's go for the unknowns. Our best table topic speaker is going to be Indu. And the best of the big three goes to Rob Giles.
Mhm.
I got robbed. Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I believe Indu wanted to meet with the officers after the meeting, which is pretty much everyone here. So Indu, do you want to go ahead and start?
Marcia, you're welcome to stay
Yeah.
if you'd like, or you can go.
Oh, Marcia and Karen.
And as
I
meeting
guess both.
And
facilitator, I
Karen.
will be stopping the meeting in just a moment, correct? Anything else we need on the recording? All right, I will stop the recording in 3, 2,